It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill, and I have a feeling that this will probably be our most popular episode that we've released to date. But Jess has a fun story and experience.
This is my coming out episode. Jess Tries ZEP.
Yeah, let's do it. Give us all the details.
I tried tirzepatide for 5 weeks at 1 milligram, which is 0.1 milliliters, which is 10 units. So a small amount compounded from a compound pharmacy for 5 weeks. I did this in November. It was the last week of November until the first week of January. So the whole month of December of 2024. I am sharing it now because I wanted to do it as a case study for myself. And I wanted to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Obviously, it affects every single person so individually. So this is my anecdotal experience. I will also touch on, I've had a handful of clients who have gone on it also. And when I say it, tirzepatide is one GLP-1 agonist. There are others. Semaglutide is another. I have had a handful of clients who have also been on GLP-1 agonists, some of which I think were great candidates for it, and some of which I think were terrible candidates for it, and their outcomes were quite different. I also think their outcomes are different because of the dosing that whoever prescribed it to them gave. So I want to talk the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anybody who we have had on this podcast who talked about this topic knew that I had already taken it. Many of my clients already know this. So the clients of mine who have asked me about it, or who I've said, hey, you might be if you're interested, we work with a nurse practitioner. I am very transparent about it. I have not been transparent about it on a broad spectrum, just because if I can't have a real conversation with somebody about the pros and the cons and all the other things, I always fear ridicule and whatever the haters are going to say. They're going to say, oh, this is why she's fit or whatever. And I need to get over my own insecurity. And I told Jill, I said, I really want to talk about this on the podcast so that it can help people who are wanting to learn about it, and or people who might benefit from it in an appropriate way to do it safely and well. And to destigmatize it as a tool. Peptides are a really cool tool. I mean, we've talked about it in prior episodes that both Jill and I have used BPC 157 before, which is a soft tissue healing peptide. So this one gets all this stigma of it's great, it's horrible, it's great. And it's it's a tool. It's just another tool. And like anything else, like any medication, like any supplement, the poison's in the dose, right? The benefit is in the dose and in how it's applied. So that's why I'm sharing it today. And again, there's been a couple friends of mine who I've been like, dude, might be a great option for you because you lift really consistently and you eat great amount of protein and you're really dialed with your sleep. If anybody's listening like that, who actually is in that position and they're not somebody who's chronically dieting and at really low calories and not lifting, I just want to remove some of the fear mongering around it. So, first things first, I also have not shared before and afters of any of my clients, like publicly on social media. I have not shared before and afters of my clients who have been on GLP-1 agonists. And I have not shared before and afters of my own photos post experimenting with this, because I do not want this to be that's the solution to getting fit. That's the thing, right? So the last photos I think I did physique update wise were in November on my Instagram, or maybe the first week of December, but I took the pictures before I started. So there's pictures of me on a body comp scale. And I was basically saying, hey, F your body comp scale, because I don't really care. It's going to, for me, it said I was way overly fat versus my muscle mass. My point is, let's look at the data, right? Let's look at my metrics. Let's look at inches. Let's look at how strong I am. That post was the last post I did of my physique, and that was before this experiment. So again, I just want to have authenticity with our audience. I feel like you guys trust us a lot in the information that we provide. So I want to be totally open, like I would be with Jill or Giovanna, my best friends, So dosing matters. I have shared here before that I had gestational diabetes with my second pregnancy in 2022. I have struggled with that on and off in terms of high fasted blood sugar specifically. My body seems to regulate blood sugar pretty well the rest of the day, post meal and everything like that. But it is especially impacted because I have horrible sleep habits. Okay. So I believe I gave myself this little pre-diabetic insulin resistant trend. Again, I'm saying I'm trending that direction. Mine is not horrible, but my insulin has gone up on my blood work every single year. And my fasted blood glucose was hovering between like 125 and 135. Again, this is not scary. This is not, oh, you have diabetes. It is not optimal though. It's higher than optimal. I'd love it to be between 80 and 90. So that's kind of where I was at. The analogy that keeps coming to mind, and I've shared this, again, I shared this with a client who I think she's working with a really excellent endocrinologist, and her endocrinologist recommended it for her. And she's like, yeah, but I don't want to cheat. And I told her this analogy that a midwife told me during my labor that I think is really appropriate here. I, with my first kid, was going to have a water birth at a birth center. I go there, I'm in agonizing pain for 14 hours. I was having contractions every minute. I was vomiting. It was awful. And my body was not progressing. I was not dilating anymore. And there was a certain point where I was like, I just want an epidural, but, and the nurse is like, but what? And I'm like, well, but I told everybody I'm going to have a natural labor. And she said, really? Like, that's your thing, is that you told everybody you were going to do it this other way? And I said, yeah, like if I didn't tell anybody that this is what I do. And she said, well, that's the dumbest reason I've ever heard to not go get an epidural. Like, if this is what you want, but this is your ego at this point, right? And I'm like, yeah, it is. And I went and I got an epidural, and I'm glad
it's so funny. My aunt was my nurse during labor and delivery, and she asked me if I wanted my epidural, and it was like awkward silence, and she was like, don't be fucking proud. Like, if you want that, like, get the epidural. And I was like, all right.
Well, and I genuinely thought I could do it, right? Like, but my body was not doing it. So there's this tool available. Why are you not using the tool out of ego, right? So that's kind of where I was at this place, where I'm like, you know what? F it. One, I know I need to sleep better. Still, guys, I know I need to change my behaviors also. But let me reach out to this nurse practitioner that we work with. Let me talk to her about all of these symptoms that I'm having. And let's just see if she puts me on a low dose, if it'll help my blood sugar. I'd also tried things like berberine. I've tried other things to try to lower my blood sugar by myself first. And it came down through phases. Like if I fasted or if I took high doses of berberine for a while, it would come down and then it would go back up. So it has not stayed down, which I'm like, come on. I'm doing all these. I'm dialed with my nutrition and my strength training, but I know my sleep is poor. Can I fix? Is there a hack? Right? I am our clients right now in this situation. Every time I text Jill about my blood sugar, she's like, well, how's your sleep improved? Like, well, turn off your screens earlier. So anyway, I worked with the nurse practitioner that we work with. She put me on a super low dose, which is a pretty normal, I think, starting dose for people who go through a compounded pharmacy, which is 1 milligram. Now, if you go through insurance, usually they will start you like these. If you go through insurance, I'm talking about the big name brands, Wegovy, Mounjaro. What's the other one? Ozempic. Yeah. If you go through insurance, you're going to have to start at 2.5 milligrams. And then they're quickly going to bump you up to 5 milligrams and then oftentimes 10 milligrams. I've spoken to my primary care provider about this, and she actually said it's really frustrating as a doctor because she has clients who respond very well, health marker wise, not weight loss, health marker wise, respond very well at 2.5 milligrams. And she's having to write their insurance companies every few weeks to say, please don't bump them up. Please keep paying for them to be at this lower dose.
Oh, crazy.
Because the insurance model is jacked up. So she's like, it stinks as a doctor. We're in a rock and a hard place because we know that the minimal effective dose is going to be the most appropriate thing for our patients. And we physically can't do that within this.
And
model.
why is that not up to the provider in the first place? I think that's so bonkers.
Right. Insurance companies are saying, well, sorry, this is what we're charging and this is what we have to do. So the good doctors like my doctor told me she actually has any patient track their food and she won't prescribe it to them unless they're getting a minimum of 100 grams of protein first. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're like the only person I've heard who talks like this as a doctor. She's just a physician, like a regular doctor. So anyway, 1 milligram. I think that the dosing really matters. And I say this, it's more expensive. It stinks to have to go to a compounded pharmacy if you are eligible through insurance, because it's going to be cheaper through insurance. But then you're able to titrate up in an appropriate way for your body. So ideally, what you want to do is be at an amount that you are reaping health benefits without feeling nauseous, without being like, oh, I'm not hungry at all. Perfect. Like, the goal is not to starve yourself. The goal is to, one, you could improve your health markers in isolation of weight loss. Like, you don't even need to lose weight. We have some people track calories and maintain their weight while reaping health marker benefits. So that is the one side of it. And then two, you could be losing weight, but you shouldn't be just completely getting rid of any and all hunger cues. Like, so my experience, and again, everybody's different. Your body may respond better to lower doses or higher doses. For me, there was almost like so every week, you take it every week. It was like a queasy type feeling in the morning for a couple hours for maybe the first 2 days after taking it each week, almost like morning sicknessy. But then and I did not lose hunger cues at all. Like, I was still hungry at the same time. I eat a lot. I was still hungry. But what I really noticed a giant difference on was my satiation cues. Like, I was full and it wasn't full. I was satisfied and apathetic to food, which I've never experienced before in my entire life, where I was like, oh my gosh, I just finished an appropriate portion instead of a 2-pound burrito. And the rest of it sitting in front of me, I think I want to wrap it up and put it in the fridge for later. Like, instead of having these mental debates of like, oh, but my mouth wants another bite. Like, usually that's where it is, where I'm like, oh, my stomach's not going to like this, but I really want another. Like, I literally have these, like, we joke about it, that like, I'm a fat kid at heart in terms of my relationship with food. Like, I love the taste of food.
I enjoy the act of eating.
True, the whole thing. But it genuinely was to a point where I could look at it and enjoy a bite and be like, cool, I enjoyed that and I'm satisfied, so I don't need more, which is a wild thing. So part of me sharing this so many months after trying it also is because I wanted to see what's the after effect. Do all my hunger cues just come back? Again, I had hunger cues the whole time, but I figured as soon as I went off of it, then I would go back to, oh, I'm debating, do I eat another bite?
What most people share, right? But I don't think a lot of people wean their dose effectively and whatever. But yeah, it is interesting to hear. It seems like a lot of the times that hunger levels just skyrocket after.
So for me, again, I didn't lose hunger cues.
Right.
That actually hasn't come back. So I do think it did a little bit, right? I think it was more restricted during that time, but I actually almost feel like it reset me in terms of my behaviorally. It reset. I don't think it was behavioral though. Like, it feels like a physical thing where I'm like craving more and more and more. Whereas now I know what satisfied feels like, and it feels really good. And I was only on it for 5 weeks. So now this nurse practitioner who prescribed it to me, I meet with her 3 months later and she goes, okay, so how low is your blood sugar? And I'm like, well, I went off of it. And she's like, why did you do that? I told you to be on it for 3 months. And I said, well, here's why. So again, now I want to talk to you guys about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So I noticed a fullness was really great, where I felt satisfied, so I would not overeat. No doubt in my mind, I was not tracking calories. I was not tracking my food during this time. I was 1,000% in a caloric deficit, 1,000% eating so much less than I normally eat because I usually overstuff myself. And I can get away with it because I train a lot. But what ended up happening, so I lost weight because I'm in a deficit. I was very adamant every single meal, I'm eating protein and I'm eating some fiber. So I was no doubt eating at least 100 grams of protein a day. But I lost weight in those 5 weeks at a rate that I would have to be in a severe deficit to do based on my past experience dieting. So I lost weight, and then I got to a place where I was like, I don't like how I feel. And now, one, I was a little nervous in the back of my mind. I'm like, I don't want to lose muscle mass. Like, I have this fear because I love the idea of having muscle mass. Like, I don't want to screw up my metabolism. But I more so stopped because I had this feeling of jitteriness and like heart palpitations and stuff. So it was like a feeling of, and I took my blood sugar and stuff. It wasn't it was not anything having to do with too low of blood sugar. My blood sugar actually didn't change a whole lot. So my baseline went from, in that time, my baseline, and when I say baseline, on a stress day, if I didn't sleep a lot and I woke up and took my blood sugar, before it was like 125 to 135. After this, now it's like 109 to 110. So it did drop a significant amount just in those 5 weeks. My ideal would be for it to be between 80 and 90 every day. It did get down to like maybe 98 one day, but it was a day I slept 8 hours and I did all the right things, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm getting closer to that range. But I started to have these like jittery type things where I felt like my heart was racing and stuff. And so I ended up talking to the nurse practitioner again, and she basically was like, listen, if you're feeling anything in your heart, one, I wish you had reached out to me. But two, a lot of times it's a lack of electrolytes, and that can really mess with our heart if our water electrolyte balance is off. So she basically said, like, if you're on this, you need to be having like 6,000, 7,000 milligrams of sodium a day. And you're probably not doing that, right? Because you're thinking about just eating protein and berries and stuff like that, right? I'm eating a lot of nuts, and I'm probably not getting enough sodium. And I was adding sea salt to my water during that time and stuff. But she attributed it to that. And she basically said, hey, if you don't want to lose more weight, here's what we need to do. You need to go back on it at a lower dose, lower than 1 milligram. I never titrated up at all. Lower than 1 milligram, and track all your food so that we are actually at maintenance and not losing weight. Because she said, I still believe it will help your blood sugar and your health markers and your insulin resistance issues. It'll make you more insulin sensitive. But you have to do all this stuff with high sodium. So I ended up going back on for 3 weeks at 0.5 milligrams, which is 0.05 milliliters, 5 units of this stuff, for only 3 weeks. Followed her recommendations with the sodium and everything. And I still had the same kind of jittery feelings. And I know my body, so I stopped. So I didn't take it anymore. So that is my full experience, start to finish. The first time not tracking calories and being in a deficit and just prioritizing protein, I absolutely lost weight. When I went back on, I tracked
Hold on one sec, though, but that's because Jessica was at maintenance for a very long time.
Oh my gosh.
Living life. So her body responded as you would anticipate or expect in any calorie deficit. She just created that with the GLP-1. Okay, continue.
Yes, let's be clear. I could put myself in a deficit to lose 2 pounds a week in my sleep if I wasn't fighting with my own hunger cues without any medication help, because I know exactly what my body will adapt to from years of experience doing this. I tend to live somewhere in the 24 to like, let's say 2,600 range most days in terms of my caloric intake. So if I cut calories real low, boom, I lose weight, right? So that is some of the problem. And those are some of the clients that I have recommended do not explore this avenue. It's because they're the women who have been dieting and dieting and dieting, and then they go on it and they don't lose any weight, or they go on it and they're like losing weight, but not losing inches because they're losing muscle mass because they're not training. And it's like, whoa, you're going to become less healthy from being on it, right? So the benefits could be incredible as a tool during a caloric deficit if done appropriately. If done in the wrong way, you can really jack up your body. So, again, one of the reasons that I wanted to share all this so that there's full transparency on like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So a few months later, so during the time, I think I was on a group text with all of our coaches, obviously updating them along the way, like, okay, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm at now. And I'm like using myself as our little internal case study. During it, I really felt like I was losing muscle mass, but I think it was because I lacked energy. So like I've had some clients, and people who are not clients who openly share their experience with me, who their sleep improves, anxiety goes down. They end up having more and more energy because there's some sort of mechanism going on where they actually sleep better. For me, being used to eating so much and then being in such a steep deficit all at once, my energy was tanked. So it was like I had to, and I know most people feel like this probably all the time. I love working out, not because I'm always motivated to, but like I know I'm going to feel better after. It was to the point where I had to drag myself to go to the gym 2 days a week. So I averaged 2 days a week for that entire month. but my training volume was not as high. Oftentimes I did a few exercises and then I felt really tired. So I did less sets than I normally do. My energy was low. So I may have felt like I was losing muscle mass just because simply my training volume dropped, right? Which is a natural thing.
Like mentally, yeah.
Yeah, like I just felt lower energy, but I was like, I still have to go minimum 2 days a week. I'm not losing my muscle mass, right? But I did not feel as good. And again, maybe that was because in the mornings I felt a little queasiness. It might have been because of that. Like the thing I could most closely correlate it to was morning sickness. And again, I never threw up a whole lot during pregnancy or anything, but like that queasiness, it kind of felt like that. And I didn't train as hard. So I was really nervous I was going to lose muscle mass. Now, the beautiful thing about muscle memory is your muscle cell, if you've put on muscle mass in the past, man, it's easy to put back on. So like I wasn't nervous when I stopped training postpartum because I put muscle mass on in the past. As soon as I start lifting again, I'm going to get newbie gains really quickly. I kind of feel like the same thing happened here. I don't know if I physically lost muscle mass or not, but within 2 months after that 5-week bit, within 2 months, so my body fat percentage is down and my muscle mass percentage and bone density went up, which I am like, what? Like, I just did not expect that at all. I expected body fat went down. I felt a little bit leaner. I expected more so muscle mass to go down. And I'm sure I maybe lost like a half a pound of muscle or something, but percentage wise, I lost more body fat than muscle mass. So body composition overall, health wise, was in a better place than before that 5-week experiment. Fun. Am I missing anything? I feel like, so blood sugar wise, I'm still at a place where I'm like, I'd love to get it better, but I'm done playing around with this for now.
We'll get sleep in order and then see how
sleep needs to be in order. But again, I've had clients who their sleep goes from like every week we have clients rate their sleep. And I've had clients rate it a 2 out of 10, a 3 out of 10 for weeks on end. And then I have one who is on this and her sleep is now like a 9 out of 10 every single week. And I'm like, what? How? Like what is doing it? But I think there's something about it slowing down your system that slows down your whole system. And I had another friend who is just a close friend of mine who shared her experience, not a client of ours, who has an Oura ring too. And she said she gets really bad anxiety and stuff. And she said her anxiety has decreased and she's only at 1.5 milligrams. So again, this is not somebody
getting worse too. So I wonder.
I think I got worse.
Yeah.
So I felt more jittery and stuff, which is why I went off of it because I was like, this isn't a good feeling for me. Yeah. Her anxiety has gone down and her HRV has improved since going on this. And it's the only thing that she has changed. Like her sleep was already dialed. She's tracking her macros. Like everything is very consistent with her. But her HRV is improving, which is wild, which is like, for you guys listening, it's your heart rate variability, but it's basically your ability to adapt after stress, like your ability to come back down and not be in a chronically stressed state. So again, I'm sharing the good and the bad on both because I think it impacts everybody differently. But I think the magic is in the dosing. And I think the magic is in you have to lift weights and you have to eat enough protein or you're going to slow your metabolism down and lose muscle mass, which goes for any diet, right? This is just another means to the same end. But anyway, I want to share that you can change your perspective and grow. And I want to lead by example in that. But I also think it's a pretty cool case study, like anecdotally speaking, that, whoa, even with me training at a lesser volume, my body composition has only improved since.
Love this so much.
Maybe I'll post pictures. We're going to Mexico in a couple months. Maybe I'll post pictures then now that I came out of the closet and I'm giving you guys all the information.
From your mental.
Yes. I cannot have this is a mental burden to me because I'm like, I can't post any physique pictures if I'm not being totally transparent about my methods. And again, my methods are the same, guys. I've still been lifting 3 days a week. I'm still eating a lot of protein. Now that I'm back up at high calories, I am intuitively eating and eating a lot of food. I do think I now don't overeat as much. Like it feels like it reset me to pre-gestational diabetes. Like I don't crave sweets and stuff as much as I did before. And I do not understand the mechanisms behind this, but it's pretty cool. And I will still say there are foods that can increase your natural GLP-1 production. Eating protein, eating fiber increases your natural GLP-1 production. Things like yerba mate, tea, increases your natural GLP-1. Like I went through a whole phase like 5 years ago where I would do that in the morning instead of coffee because I was like, ooh, this naturally suppresses your hunger. Before GLP-1s were a big popular thing, I used to do that in the morning. There's lots of things like that that can help your natural satiation. So again, this is just one tool. I feel like, yeah, that's it. We want to be open books about all the things that we do and try. And at the end of the day, the healthy habits are the baseline underneath it all. But that's that. I'm an open book. If you guys have questions, shoot me a message. If you have been chronically dieting, I do not think you're a good candidate for it. If you have been and when I say chronically dieting, I think a lot of women are like, yeah, I've been at maintenance for 6 months, and I ask what their maintenance is, and they say 1,600 calories, and I am like going to throw up. That is a steep deficit for me. If you have been living north of, let's say, 2,100 calories for a year or more, this is probably going to be the most fun, easy deficit of your life if you decide to lean on a tool like this. However, if you are chronically dieting, if you are somebody who does not strength train as is, strength train for a year and see what happens to your body before ever going on a drug like this. And that's kind of like the big takeaways that I wanted you guys to get out of this episode.
Love this so much. Proud of you for putting this out into the world because I think it's good. I think you had Jess was like texting me updates like crazy throughout this experiment, if you will. And it was just really cool to hear her insight and perspective on things personally as we have clients interested in this.
Also doing it. Yeah.
And it's really cool for her to be able to speak on that. So,
in Legally Blonde, so one of our other best friends said to me, oh my gosh, you're like the chick from Legally Blonde. And I was like, what? At the end of Legally Blonde, like her alibi the whole time she didn't kill her husband was because she got liposuction, but she was a personal trainer and she didn't want to tell anybody she got liposuction. And then it comes out in court that I was like, I cannot be a poser like that. Don't you put that on me. Like, I better tell the world because I don't ever want to come across. And again, I'm like, all our clients know that I did this because I talked to them about it if they ask. But anyway, that's that. That's where we are.
Hysterical.
That's all on the table. Come at me.
All right, guys. We hope that episode was helpful and fun, and we will see you guys next time.